Hello, hello, hello. My name's Chris Allen, and this is MMA from London to LA. Um, we recently had a good card last weekend. UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus, I can never pronounce his name, guys. I'm going to get in trouble for this, aren't I? Abbas Magomedov. I think it's something like that. And as always, joined by Colin Crandall and Callum Anderson. Colin, how you doing, man?
I'm all right, mate. I promised I wouldn't come in here looking this poorly, and now I seem to be making a habit of looking this poorly nearly every week, like a rat, like someone that was hanging out there and out of the street that you dragged in. So thank you for dragging me in here, gentlemen, and love to give my opinions on MMA. Quite an interesting card the other day, indeed.
Yeah, and Callum also, man. How you doing, mate? You all good?
I am, man. I am. Can't lie. All good, man. You're a fellow Liverpool fan, so things are good at the moment. And look, UFC's booming. Got a big card coming up. Just had a really good card recently as well. I'm loving life. I can't lie. I'm loving life.
Yeah, man. Next weekend's going to be epic, man, isn't it? Can't
Very
wait
much.
for that. Yeah, but I've got that on the agenda anyway, man. We'll definitely have a chat about it next weekend because obviously there's a massive card coming up, and every fight on that card could nearly be a blooming main event, from
Yeah.
some of these fight nights we're seeing. But anyway, let's move on to the fight. So what we'll do is we'll go through the main event, and yeah, we'll have a chat about each fight. I'd like to get your opinions, see what you thought, and I'll just chuck a few facts out there as well. So first fight on the card. This is going to be an interesting one, by the way, because there's loads of like Dagestanis and Kazakhstanis on the card. So I get to read all these out. Okay, so we've got
Oh yes.
Nur Sultan Ruzboev versus Bruno Ferreira. It was a fantastic fight. So, well, what really impressed me is that this Nur Sultan, he's debuting in the UFC, and this guy, right, he's 29 years old, and he's had 43 fights.
Yeah.
You
Crazy.
know what I mean? In 9 years, he's had 41. One in, I think it was in 2017. He had 13 fights, pro
Oh,
MMA fights in 1 month, 1 year.
Crazy.
Sorry.
That's crazy.
And when I saw his record, I thought, oh, this guy's going to be like 36, 37 years old, probably, long career, 35 and 8. But no, do you know what I mean? Like, absolute, the
yeah.
experience this guy must have had already is probably one of the most active fighters I've ever known.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone with that. And I looked at the people he was fighting as well, and they weren't bums or anything. So it was, he's had the top competition all the way up, and he proved it. He took on Bruno Ferreira, obviously undefeated, 1-1 in the UFC now. He was a contender series guy, which we're seeing a lot of fight nights at the moment. His first loss, but what a fight to take on your debut in the UFC against an undefeated guy and do it the way he did. Colin, what did you think about that fight, mate?
Well, first of all, I had the other guy winning the whole time, and I kept on meaning to post it on Twitter, and I never got around to it. Things kept interrupting me. But here's my reasoning, and it's something I've seen several times, and I think instincts from watching fights for so many years is what helped me here. So follow me on this. Bruno Ferreira comes in, beats RoboCop by knockout, quite unexpected in his last fight. To win was unexpected. He was, I think, a 4-1 underdog, and to win by stoppage against a guy with a previously iron chin in RoboCop was unexpected. So the whole time leading up to Saturday, I was saying to myself, what happens in this story in the next chapter is that guy gets smashed. The guy that does this, the guy that's the hammer, becomes the nail in his next fight in a dramatic way. And I wish I had had extra money to make some large wager on it. I did not. But I do wish I would have gone on because I kept intending to go onto Twitter saying major prediction here, underdog definitely wins this fight. I can see it. I've seen it before so many times, and it played out exactly as such. And just wish I had had the money. A,
And B, disappeared. B,
The betting powers got onto me. Said he's starting to figure out the game. He's cracked the code.
they've cut him off.
man.
Oh, he's back. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
We
so
got to B. You told us A. We want to know what B was.
B was that I wish I had uh, posted it to help other people out because I was quite confident and that was going to play out exactly as such. It did.
Yeah, man, I was well impressed. He's a big dude as well, man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I just can't get over how many fights that guy's had, and he did have a bit of time off though. Like I think in a couple of years, I think it must have been 2013 or something. I can't remember exactly. So in that time, in that space of 9 years, he had all them fights with a year off potentially in between. Experience is key, man. Anyway, Callum, what are you thinking?
I thought it was an excellent fight. I agree with Colin. I thought he was losing the fight up until then, but he just seemed like he was just hanging in there and just finding his rhythm, finding his range. And the knockout when it came was brutal. But what really stood out for me was the outpouring of emotion. You could just see how much this meant to him, and it like I've never watched him fight before, but seeing that outpour of emotion, seeing how much it meant to him, I've become a fan because I can obviously I'm not a fighter, so I can't I understand that exact experience or that feeling. But we've all tried hard at something, and to think he's had so many fights outside the UFC, finally gets his debut against a really tough opponent. He's losing the fight. He pulls out of the fire with an amazing win. You could just see the outpouring of emotion and almost that relief that, yeah, I belong here and I've got a future here because of what I've just done. As you said, frame-wise, physicality is massive for the division, but he looks like he's going to be an exciting fighter nonetheless.
Yeah, man, that knockout was savage, and everyone just saw obviously he caught the leg and cracked him, which you see a lot of fighters do. Yeah, but I think what knocked him out, honestly, did you hear the sound? Did you hear the sound of his head hitting the ground?
Brutal.
Yeah, man. And see, I rewound it back. I was like, no way. And the sound of his head hitting the ground, I think that might have been what knocked him out. I don't know.
I think it was. He's such a heavy guy, a shorter, stocky, heavy guy. Did you see the great footage when he found out that coming into the hotel room, one of his trainers or coaches mentioned he got the bonus, how happy he was.
Oh, bless.
He grabbed his coach there and hugged him.
Nice. Imagine that. Getting knocked out and earning 50 grand. I know I'm in the wrong job, man. I'm telling you.
Tell you, mates.
I mean, if you want to do it, Chris, it's up to you.
Mate, for 50 grand, I'll do it every week.
No, without a doubt, I would as well.
We'll get knocked out, guys.
Yeah,
do you know what? I'll have a go. I'll just do it for like 3. I'll just do it for 3 months and save the money up.
Yeah, maybe twice. Maybe it twice.
Yes, indeed.
Become a UFC journeyman. Imagine. Anyway, yes, obviously great fight. Again, a contender series guy who didn't obviously win this fight, but again, these fight nights, it seems like a very good platform for the contender series winners and people progressing their career, which obviously we have later on the card. So yeah, man, moving on to the next one then. We have Benoit Saint Denis versus Ishmael Bonfim. I really hope I'm saying these right. But fantastic win for Benoit. Round 1 rear naked choke. Say make it easy, didn't make it easy, but again, beating another contender series guy. I was just saying, he's 3-1 in the UFC, won his last 3 fights. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure he come from Brave, didn't he? Benoit Saint Denis, Brave FC. I think he came from Brave, which is, if no one knows, it's quite a big show over this. But it's actually pretty big everywhere now, isn't it, Brave?
Yeah,
Middle East.
Yeah.
And Ishmael he's 1-1 in the UFC now. Won his last 3 before this fight. So a tough fight for Benoit. Callum, what were your thoughts on the fight, mate?
I thought it was an entertaining fight while it lasted. I think they were matched up quite well. I hadn't seen much of the 2 fights beforehand, but I enjoyed the fight. And when he sunk in the rear naked, it was all she wrote. It was, again, a display of excellent technique. I don't think there's much more else. I mean, if they fight 10 times, I think the result goes that way at all times. I don't think one was overmatched, but I think there was a clear difference on who was the better fighter. And I think the rear naked choke, when it came, it showed that there was a slight difference in levels there, but nothing crazy where you're thinking this is a bad matchmaking fight. But I just think there was a level beyond there.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. But you never know. People put it out of the bag sometimes.
True,
but yeah,
true.
but for sure, Saint Denis, he's smashing it. He's got a great name as well, man. Benoit Saint Denis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be BSD eventually soon, won't it, or something like that? Colin, man, did you manage to watch the fight, and what did you think, mate?
I did, and I actually called that one correctly as well. I actually had a bit more confidence that Bruno Ferreira would get beaten, by the Dagestani than I did in this one, but I had still a good deal of confidence in Benoit. I did not see why he was such an underdog in that fight. His record was great. He had faced a higher bit of competition, and the fact, once again, that exact story played out. The first fight, Bonfim comes in like a house on fire, makes this incredibly great impression. He's going to be a killer. He's going to ruin everyone. And then his next fight, he gets smashed. And it played out exactly as such. And you could see
the nail became the hammer. Yeah,
the vice versa. The hammer became the nail.
That's what I mean. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, indeed. And it showed that people knew that the striking ability of Bonfim was so great, and Denis knew that. And he said, "What better to do? I'll wrestle him." Right? That's the way to do it. And he looked brilliant. And I was commenting to a friend of mine that when you're being thoroughly out wrestled and out grappled, it's got to be a very, very frustrating experience. You know what I mean? Looking back at my jiu-jitsu, I should say that that I've had that experience once in a while when going with a black belt or a brown belt, or even back before I was a purple belt when I was, white or blue belt, but most of the time not. Most of the time when someone's ranked much higher than you, just in your own gym, you're not going in there and having them smash you. But yeah, the looking Bonfim literally looked like he was just resigned to being ragdolled and outmaneuvered on the ground, which until he got tapped out. And so, Bonfim's got to practice that takedown defense, got to practice his get-ups, and then indeed has to practice his jiu-jitsu. Benoit Saint Denis with the striking, good enough to hang in with Bonfim in the striking to allow the openings for the wrestling, for the takedowns. And that's a big part of it. I think a lot of people didn't think Saint Denis had the hands like that, as well as a chin like that. And when you have those factors and you're a good wrestler and grappler, you've got a good chance to do well, as I think he will continue to do.
Yeah, mate. It's these fight nights. Some people are slating. Like I wasn't slating it, but I was watching it at my friend's house. It was on earlier, wasn't it? Once this card,
yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, what sort of fights from tonight?" I said, "Don't get me wrong. There's no well-known people. You know what I mean? But it's just a fight night. Hopefully you never know what you're going to get." And he started telling me, he said, "Are you sure this isn't like a main event or something? Because these fights are they're bangers, man. I mean, most of these fights." And he was right. Never miss the prelims. I always say it. Never miss the prelims. Never skip on fight. Don't just watch the main event. Trust me. You never know. You never know.
Quick question: if these fights were bangers, then where was the match?
I was waiting for that.
Were you eating the match? Was you when you were watching the fight?
He couldn't wait to get the joke. Could he?
That's it. If I said some of the judges' decisions were a bit fishy, couldn't be like, "Oh, did he come with chips as well?" And,
of course, you know that. You have to. Now, what is for my American audience? Bangers and mash would be what sort of food?
It's sausage and mashed potatoes with onion gravy.
There we go. Now, when was the last time either of you ate that meal?
About a week ago.
Right?
Probably years.
Years? Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Tell him you don't like your bangers and mash?
No,
to be fair, man, it's more of a winter food.
I'm not a big mashed potato fan. I have it now and again.
Understood.
I'm not a big mashed potato fan.
Just stick half a lump of butter in it, man. It tastes fine.
I know. It is. Or even garlic butter in.
Ooh, I like that.
Is not too bad as well.
We're not singles. So we don't need to care about eating garlic, do we?
So that's right. Do you guys get that Irish butter, Kerrygold? Is that over in England or no?
Kerrygold sounds like a pair of bloody washing up gloves.
Yeah,
that's Marigold, isn't it?
Don't let the Irish forgive them, please. Irish.
I don't know if it is. I usually get floral or like Bertoli or something like that.
Right, and which is the tea? Do you guys get the berries tea from Ireland over there?
No, we get proper tea, mate. English breakfast tea, man.
Don't cuss me for this one, guys. I don't drink tea or coffee.
Oh no.
Do you know what, man? I don't either. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I used to.
I don't have hot drinks. I couldn't tell you the last time I had a hot drink.
I just don't do caffeine, man. Caffeine gives me a headache. It makes me crash out. I hate it, man. I'm getting old. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I can really comment on older, but I like my tea. I've always liked my hot tea, but then I like my cold coffee. I'll tell you a thing that I learned though, which is quite disappointing. Coffee is quite good for you if you don't add anything to it. Once you're adding cream to it, milk, uh, sugar, it loses a fair amount of its beneficial
I
properties.
hate coffee, man. I hate it. It's
Yeah,
disgusting.
even the
Coffee.
smell of it.
Whoever thought of making coffee sweets like candies? There's just something wrong with them, man.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you,
I
mate.
mean,
Anyway, continue on, Mr. Allen.
don't get me started on coffee sweet. Anyway, it's always the ones left in the box at Christmas, you know.
Indeed.
Right, moving on. We had the ladies up next, if I remember rightly. So it's Ariana Lipski versus Melissa Gatto. What I liked about this one was you had Ariana, who's never been submitted, against Melissa, who's never actually been finished before.
Yeah.
So that was always quite interesting to see what happened there. I personally, I put my money on a decision, so that was quite easy money. I thought on that one when looking at the results, because I thought I didn't see
Yes.
Melissa winning the fight, no disrespect, but I didn't see her being able to be finished by Lipski. So you know, I don't know what were your guys' thoughts on that fight. I had Ariana winning it. Split decision was, yeah, I guess you could sort of agree with it, but I don't know. What do you think, guys? What do you think, Callum?
I had it 2 rounds to 1 quite comfortably for Lipski. I think Gatto won the first round. It seemed as though Lipski was really off the pace in the first round. She was swinging quite wildly, but Gatto was kind of picking her off a little bit with the jab, but Lipski just kept on walking her down. And I don't think Gatto was expecting that sort of pressure, and I think she wilted a little bit in the second and third round. I thought were clear as day that they were Lipski rounds. I think one of the scorecards was 30-27 as well. It's like no way anyone won 3 rounds out of 3 in that fight. Lipski for me won 2 and 3 clearly, but for me Gatto won the first.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, Colin, what were you thinking, man?
Well, going into that fight, I noticed the women look similar. They look like they could have been cousins. Lipski, both beautiful girls, especially Lipski. Lipski had more experience, and I was just commenting to a friend that sometimes the more experienced veterans will win a fight just based off of that, how much knowledge they have on the tricks of the trade and what to do and how to make minor adjustments and what to do
That
if
was
you're on top.
Lipski's 10th. Sorry, but that was Lipski's 10th fight, and it was Melissa's in the UFC. That is, and that was Lipski's 4th fight in the UFC.
Yes, quite a difference. Quite a difference. Nevertheless, Lipski had lost most of her UFC fights, and Gatto had won both of hers. So Gatto was the favorite, deservedly so. And I did comment before that fight that if Gatto is going to be a legitimate contender, certainly she has to get by someone like Ariane Lipski. And when she didn't, to me, that stated that that's that. You know, that's they're just you guys say in England, they'll just might as well leave that off as far as adding Gatto to the list of
Yeah, man.
contenders. So yeah, that was that. I did think that Gatto coming into there with a black eye wasn't the best idea because Lipski. See, the funny thing is Lipski's got some good striking. Mostly, she's been when she wins, it's by grappling. So I kind of made a post saying that it probably won't come in hand that much against Gatto with the black eye as the fact that Lipski is more of a grappler. But then I was reminded that mostly she was a striker until she started really working on her grappling. But I good show for Lipski. She saved her job. She's got a very good personality and pretty girl and marketable, but she must get on more than a 1 fight win streak, and I don't think she has, or if she has, it's been quite a while. But
Well, Colin,
yeah.
not that I'm trying to correct you. There's so many bloody fighters, but I looked at the stats earlier. Ariane, this is her second win in a row.
Oh, it is.
She's on a 2 fight win streak after this fight. That is. You know what I mean,
Right.
2 fight win streak, and Melissa was actually on a losing streak. She lost her last fight as well. So she was she won. So she's 2-2 in the UFC. She won her first 2, and now she's lost her second 2. Melissa.
Really? I thought
Yeah,
Gatto. Oh wow, oh, that's right.
Unless
4.
I'm wrong, this is just stuff I took online, and I can't remember everything, man. I don't know how you do. You remember everything.
Once in a while I do. Sometimes I'm remembering something inaccurately, which is possible.
Yeah, well, that's
but
right, man.
yeah, either way though. But I think either way, the bottom line is what my analysis stands is the fact that Lipsky is a losing fighter in the UFC, and Gatto needed to win that if she was going to be a contender. I think Lipsky is a bit of a gatekeeper, as the saying
Yeah, man.
goes, right? And I think you certainly cannot lose to a gatekeeper and feel that you're in contention. So setback for Gatto for sure. Lipsky again is on now a 2-fight win streak, which is fantastic. See what happened though, but it's and the weight division is 125, which is quite stiff. So, I hard to say if they both have hard matchups in their next fight. My feeling is they both lose.
Yeah, man. It is one of them sort of fights. Those two at certain points in their career, bit of an up and down results, and yeah, it's just going to be tough for either one of them. And it was a split decision, so it is what it is. Interesting what happens next to them. You never know. The hammer may become the nail again. Well, you know what I mean. You know what I bloody mean. I can't even say his phrases. I'm just going to stop trying. Right, moving on. Then we have Michael Morales versus Max Griffin. Max Griffin's old school, man. Fair play to Michael Morales. His third fight in the UFC, and he's fighting a veteran of like 14 fights in the UFC. 24. He was on the Contender Series at like 22 years old. He's on a winning streak, being undefeated still at the moment, 15-0, which is unreal. Just shows you the new breed of fighters that are coming through. And you got someone like Max Griffin. He's unfortunately now he's 8 losses and 7 wins in the UFC, but that's some experience. And here's a fact not many people know. Max Griffin was in the Ultimate Fight at 16. He didn't win the exhibition fight, and he was out the competition. And a couple of years later, he comes back and fights Colby Covington in his debut, which is never fun. So yeah, man. So obviously, great win for Michael Morales by unanimous decision, going 3 rounds as a veteran who's fought some of the best and been there and done it. Colin, man, what did you think of that?
I've interviewed Max many times over the years. He's a great guy. He's always been a gentleman. He's always been kind enough to grant me interviews, and a really great guy. I feel that several of his losses could have been wins. If he's got 7 wins and 8 losses now, I feel it should be more like 9 wins and 6 losses, perhaps even better. He's always had the judges go against him nearly every time, and a couple of times it was preposterous. Really big fight for him here. He was the underdog by over 2-1 odds. I knew that he would make this fight very competitive. The other guy had stopped his 2 previous opponents, and I took a bit of a risk and put a comment in response to MMA Fighting, who put an article that said Morales is now 2-0 with 2 stoppages in the UFC, and he'll be going for his 3rd. And I made the bold statement, and I said, and he will fail. And I said, he's fighting a man who has been stopped once in 28 fights. And that was 14 fights ago against Colby Covington in his UFC debut. And I said, so possibly this kid Morales might win. I said, I'm going with Max, but he's not stopping Max. And I said, if you see that bet, don't take it. Not happening. And
No,
I
he's
was
tough,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Been there with the best, been through the hard way of going to do things, living in a house on a reality show, losing, having to fight his way back to an opportunity, fighting Colby as his debut, but very up and down career, unfortunately. But as you said, a lot of split decisions, a lot of decisions that didn't go his way. Yeah, man, unfortunately, that's just the way the coins flip, man.
Great fight though. The other kid is quite large, quite big kid for the division.
Yeah.
Max is really tough though. Would have loved to have seen that. It was like being served a bit of a sour dish of fish and chips for me.
Sour fish.
With too much vinegar and the tartar sauce not being quite up to par. Yes.
Tartar sauce, man, and mushy peas.
There we go.
Yeah.
Not good. I was disappointed, but fair played, as you guys would say, to Morales, and Max is such a tough guy. Very fair played to him as well.
And again, as I always say,
go from MMA from London to London, because you're becoming more of a Englishman nowadays. You know more of the phrases than we do.
Thank you.
Colin.
Yes, I've heard of it for many years. I love it. As I say, I'm on my continued Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour. I'm normally the Mad Dog. These are the Englishmen, but now maybe I'll be the Englishman and they'll be the Mad Dogs. Who knows?
Start speaking with an English accent soon, man.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
right, mate. Of course, get a good bit of fish and chips there, mate.
I'm not even going to do my American one. I'll offend someone.
That's all right. That's okay.
But yeah. Anyway, Callum, I nearly forgot to ask you what you thought. Then I was about to move on.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good fight. I thought in the first round Max did really well, and Michael almost looked a little bit overwhelmed by the situation. You were thinking, I wonder if this was too big of a step up for him so early in his career. But once he started getting his jab off and started finding his range, you just saw that confidence come back. He started showboating a little bit. Nothing disrespectful, but showboating as if to say, I'm here and I'm here to compete. And I think I'm better than you, even though I'm younger than you and less experienced. And what stood out to me was Max's toughness. There were so many... Max could have really... I won't say thrown the fight, but he could have given up on himself and given up on the fight. He was getting hit with some really big shots. He was getting wobbled. He was getting bashed about quite a bit. Not once did Max give up. Not once did he doubt himself that he could still pull a win out of the fire. And again, that's why so many people love Max Griffin, because he is a warrior in there and he will go out on his shield and he'll fight anyone. Michael, he looks really good. He looks like he could potentially be one of the future contenders in the division.
Yeah, man. Max Griffin reminds me of, like, you know, Clay Guida's back in Clay Guida's day. You know, go and fight anyone. He was just take a beat. He doesn't care. You know. Yeah, man, it's exciting guys. Colin, what are you saying?
Yeah, sorry. One thing to add. I was quite disappointed and taken aback with the biased commentary in that matchup. It seems like from the beginning, the commentators were embracing this undefeated prospect. Everything he did was great. They were giving virtually no credit to Max. And I really am becoming a bit tired of seeing that. I don't think it's correct. I don't think it's proper. And it made me angry. I think I cursed in one of my Twitter spaces on a rare occasion. And I just, there's no need for that. And it makes me wonder if they're encouraged to do that.
That's what I was going to say. Do they have a choice, do you reckon? Because I personally think they can do what they want. But I think he's the younger guy. And we who know who Max Griffin is, we know who he is. But he's the younger, undefeated guy, the contender series, off the contender series, at 22 years old. What is our main audience who's actually going to be watching this? And they're probably going to be wanting to see who the up-and-comers are.
Yeah, right.
Maybe
and I think, sorry to interrupt you, Chris. Maybe this you were saying?
No, carry on, man.
Maybe, yeah. I feel also that these commentators are sitting close enough to the judges that at least one of the judges is hearing their commentary, maybe two of them, maybe all three of them. And I don't like it. I think they need to stop that. And if they don't stop that, then I think people need to write in and ask them to stop that, because that was messed up. That was
but, I think
biased.
the same with the Apex. When the Apex was empty during COVID, even now it's pretty empty still. And you got someone like Daniel Cormier explaining what the fighter should be doing to get out of the position, or anyone, and they're right next to him. So that guy's getting coaching from DC or something. Could you imagine?
That's right. There we go.
It must be a hard one too, and I don't know. I'd end up shouting at the commentators to shut up, But anyway, it's their job. They're there to do it. They should sit them in a booth at the back somewhere.
I was going to say they should be in a separate room if it's that quiet in there.
Yes.
Just get one more in there, and then Bisping can sit cage side to do his interviews, and there you go. And someone else.
There we go. Yep.
Anyway, that's a story for another day, isn't it? To be fair.
Yeah. Indeed.
Moving on to the next fight, another contender series winner. He's doing very well. Grant Dawson fights up ATT, I think. 8-0. Well off the contender series. It's 8-0 in the UFC, by the way, I should say. He's 20-1 overall, which is incredible record. One in-house decision, bit of a grind, to try and get to it. Wasn't huge action all the way through, but it was technical. Did what he needed to do against the tough Damir Ismagulov. That's it. Yeah. He's coming off a loss anyway. His first loss in the UFC. He wasn't a tear before that. He won like his first 5 fights, then he lost. never been stopped, this guy either, and still hasn't, seeing as Grant won by unanimous decision. Colin, what were your thoughts on this, man? Some good wrestling from Grant Dawson.
Yeah, I picked Grant to win this fight. I was speaking with Bo Nickel's father, Jason Nickel, and Bo, the prospect, who's fighting
next week
on Saturday, and Jason had gone down there to watch Bo train, and saw Grant Dawson, and Grant approached him knowing that he was the father of Jason and had coached, of Bo, and had coached Bo early on when he was quite young, and Jason had also wrestled himself competitively, collegiately, and been a coach for many years. And one thing that Jason told me was that the wrestling of Grant Dawson is getting better and better. He put him through some paces, and Grant surprised him for not having much of a wrestling pedigree. His wrestling was improving quite a bit. And after hearing that, I had already believed that Dawson was going to win the fight because of how great his grappling was. But man, knowing that his wrestling had improved over there at ATT, and I just, I was surprised how many people were on the other side, and I started to feel that, like, because of Habib, almost all of these Eastern Bloc fighters are being assumed to be complete killers and completely dominant wrestlers. Yeah,
you've stole my next topic.
I'm
anyway,
sorry
carry on,
about that.
man. No, carry on.
Yeah.
We'll come into that one after you finish.
Right. Exactly. And I just said to myself, this is not that guy. Ismagulov is a tough guy, but the American Grant Dawson is a brilliant fighter, and he just shut him out. It was, and one of the things that I forget someone mentioned to me, I think in the Twitter space I conducted afterward, that his wrestling is kind of not really an American style of wrestling. It's such a blend of Brazilian jiu-jitsu positioning with American wrestling, and that it's a bit of an odd combination. And like, if you notice, he'd rather take your back with a body lock than have this pressuring forward game like the Eastern Bloc wrestlers that want to get on top of you and squash you. He wants to take an even more superior position, and he kept changing that body lock. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was brilliant, and he just, it looked like Ismagulov was just stunned. And but yeah, Grant Dawson is for real, and I love the fact also of how humble he is. The bigger the fighters, usually the more humble they are. He said this win was only 10% him and 90% the men that you see out, off the camera, his team. And he's just a humble kid, really talented. I don't think he does many interviews at all. It's hard to get to connected with him. I've been trying. I'm going to try again after that performance. But, I think a really high level fighter like that and humble guy probably rather to talk with his his fists and his hands and his technique than verbally discuss how good he is or what he's going to do next. And so I imagine that's probably his mindset on that. But now pretty much that's the last time that he will be a slight underdog or a pick'em for a while, probably, until he's up against someone ranked really high. And but he made some call outs. He said he'd rather have, I think he said, either Arman Sarukian or Gamrot or Islam. I think he said for Islam being the GOAT, he called Islam the GOAT, and then he said, I'm your replacement. So big talk.
Replacement.
Yep, great fighter, brilliantly fought, executed fight by the American Grant KGD Dawson out of
Just coming back to what you were saying, man. If someone did an accumulator, I think you guys call it a parlay, don't you? Where you choose individual fights, and then if they all come in, then yeah.
Yes.
How many people would you reckon bet on people's surnames ended in OV as an accumulator all the way through?
No.
Yeah. Right, and I'm not disrespect those guys. They're good. Khabib set them up, and everyone who's come through has been like really good.
Yeah.
Do you think these coaches now are looking and thinking, right, this is the style that's being brought in. How can we counteract this style? Because this is mixed martial arts. There's going to be a way around it. Yeah, everyone looked, but no one found that way around Khabib. Well, saying that they did, they found ways to get back to their feet and stuff like that. do you reckon that's, as you said, Colin, it's been brought in, hasn't it? This whole killer mentality, and it's being shut down at the moment, So
Oh yeah,
be interesting to see what goes on. What do you
It
think,
is.
Helen, about the fight and what I was just talking about?
Yeah, so the fight was a complete shutout. Again, at the beginning of the fight, it looked as though Grant Dawson was struggling to assert his striking. The moment he took him down or started getting close to him, it was about as clear cut as you can get. Like, and as Colin was saying, this his awareness to switch between the body triangle, so he obviously didn't hurt himself or put himself in a compromising position. Like the control he had was just brilliant. He never once looked as though he didn't know what he was going to do next. It was like he was reading a book of what Ismagulov was going to do next, and it was just like, I know what you're going to do next. I'm going to counteract it with this. He made it look easy. It was such a shutout, and I look forward to see what he does next, because I doubt he's going to get a lot of suitors who want to fight him, because if he's that good, he's going to find it really difficult to get fights. So it's almost a catch-22 for him. He's put on this amazing performance where everyone's speaking about him, but there's also the other side of it where people are like, oh, I'm not taking that fight against him, because if I get down on the ground, I'm not getting back up, or I'm getting choked out or submitted. In regards to your second question, I agree. I think this is what I think is beautiful about MMA. We've had these different era-defining fighters. Like, you even think of someone like a Machida. When he was at his peak, you looked at him and thought, well, no one's going to beat him. Like, how do you figure out
BJ Penn as well, people like that.
BJ Penn, like you get these fighters, and then you look at them and then you go, oh, someone's figured it out. And then when someone figures it out, everyone else starts to figure it out. And you're right, this whole narrative that because Khabib did it, everyone else, it's almost like Khabib was a once-in-a-lifetime fighter. You're going to get other great fighters from that region of the world, just like you'll get other great fighters from Brazil. Doesn't mean you're going to be another Anderson Silva, though. And I think there's this narrative that every Dagestani wrestler is just unbeatable, unbreakable. Well, Grant Dawson said, I hold my beer, because that's
Exactly.
Yeah, man. As I said, they're adaptive, man. It's a new breed. It's the new breed of MMA, man. Like as you said,
yeah,
wrestling, jiu-jitsu, like it's all incorporated now.
yeah.
It's all
And they've had
just
how many years
evolving.
now? They've had so many years now to start preparing for that style. I mean, when Khabib came with that style, everyone knew that it was a wrestling heavy style, but his aggression, the Dagestani handcuff, the way he would lock his legs underneath his opponent's legs to stop them being able to shift with their hips or use their feet to get back up. Other people are using that now who are Dagestani. So not only has his techniques transcended to other people, but other people have studied his techniques on how to build and break down a philosophy on how to win against that technique as well.
I'm seeing amateurs do it in my fight shows, man. It's great.
It's scary though,
that.
isn't it? It's scary.
Amateurs, mate.
Like,
look when everyone knew Ronda Rousey was going to throw an armbar. How did she hit it so many times? Because they had to learn to adapt. It's little simple things. It's like the calf kick as well. How long does that take to evolve?
That's right.
So
I guess you for sure you can say well done by Grant Dawson. Huh?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Smashed it. Let's move on, man. To me, one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. The main event: Sean Strickland versus. Right, here we go. Abbas Magomedov. Okay, another one you may have lost your parlay on if you bet on the OV. And hey, I have my doubts as well. I didn't have my doubts in Strickland. I was just like, you never know with these guys, these Russian guys. But again, tough fight. If no one looked at Magomedov, Strickland's had, Jesus, man, what 20 fights in the UFC? And this is only Magomedov's second fight in the UFC. He hasn't got much experience. But fair play to Strickland. He's proved that he's no gatekeeper. And the guy's never been submitted either. He's something else. They know they can't just take him to the ground and submit him, because it's not going to happen. And I just think he's so underrated, Strickland. I really, really do. He's shouting for title shots, which I think is a bit soon, because you're beating almost debut guys. But as you said, Izzy's fought most of the other people. So
I've got a wild take.
Callum, go on then. Callum, what you got to say about that?
I think he kind of has to get the next shot. I think everyone's automatically just assuming the winner of Whittaker and Duplessis is going to get the next shot. I don't think they come out of that fight unscathed. The only person who's got a chance coming out of that fight unscathed is Duplessis. Is Whittaker? Sorry.
Yes.
I guarantee you, if Duplessis beats Whittaker, unless Whittaker gets an injury, which we hope doesn't happen, there is no way he's going to be able to turn around and fight Izzy. Who gets out of a fight with Whitaker apart from Adesanya and isn't banged up? Yo Romero, who everyone looks at as being like the ultimate destroyer, like was never the same fighter after fighting Whitaker. Everyone talks about Whitaker after Romero. Romero's never been the same after fighting Whitaker. Like Vettori, look how bad Vettori looked after the Whitaker fight.
Yep.
Everyone who fights Whitaker, Jared Cannonier got a broken arm. If you fight Whitaker, you're coming out of that with injuries. So there's no way he's turning around. Who else is left in the division? Who else has had a little back and forth with Izzy? I think Sean Strickland can get the title fight.
I reckon
Izzy
he gets
fresh meat as well.
Yeah, I reckon he gets the loser at least. I think he needs to do at least that, and I think that's a big step up for him fighting the loser of Whitaker versus Duplessis. But him versus Duplessis, by the way, is a great fight. I like
think
that
just give
fight.
it to Sean.
Oh, why
Than
not?
keep
Let's
the
just
division and holding on.
yeah. But then Adesanya is going to. But to be fair, we can all put money on Strickland and win good money. I guess, couldn't we? Because he hasn't. I know what you say. He hasn't. Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I do agree with what you're saying. Because who else is there really? But
Yeah.
how many times is he going to have to? It's one of them ones where Whitaker is like his best friend is the champion, so he never wants to fight him. You know, it's like one of them situations. Like, you know, it's like I'll never have that title because just can't. I don't know. It's just Adesanya keeps stopping him, and it's how many times do you have to see that? Yeah, man, Colin, what you said? What are you thinking about the whole thing?
Well, first I'm thinking when you say Shaun, it reminds me of the movie Shaun of the Dead. You remember that one?
Yeah, man, Simon Pegg, classic film, man.
That was brilliant, wasn't it, Shaun? anyway, yes, this fight I have. I did pick correctly, but not only that, I was shocked immediately at the betting opportunity. Once again, wish this had not been such a lean year for me because I would have made a good deal of money on that. When I was breaking down that fight in a Twitter space prior to the several days prior to the fights, I looked at the breakdown of who the men were, the fact this is Abus's second fight in the UFC against Sean Strickland, and the words I said nearly precisely were, let me take a look at these odds. It should be Sean Strickland minus 400, which is around 4-1 odds. And I turned the page and it was nearly even. And I looked and I said, what? This is a nearly even odds fight with Sean Strickland being 1.5 to 1 favorite. I scratched my head and I said, this should be 4 to 1 favorite. This is preposterous. And I said, this is one of the best betting openings I've seen in quite some time. This is ridiculous. I said, Sean Strickland wins this fight for sure. And I said, there's a small chance that he doesn't, of course, but I said, this is way off. This should not be nearly an even money fight in the odds. This is ludicrous. And I said, so this is one of the better bets I can see out there. If you put, take what, $1,500 US and win $1,000, easy work. And I also said this man Abus shouldn't even be in this fight. On your second UFC fight, yes, you won your first one in 19 seconds, though, against someone that's not even close to being a contender. And then you're the main event. I said, so here's what I said. I said, already this makes me unhappy, and I'm glad I wasn't going to the event as a paying guest. Because I would have been quite unhappy with this main event. But I said, if this guy doesn't do well, then it's going to look even worse. And I said, my prediction is this guy's not going to do very well. And this is going to blow up in the UFC's face. And a lot of people are going to say, when will they stop doing this crap of putting someone who's absolutely no place in the main event being in the main event, and I said I would bet you that UFC is hoping this guy's going to do brilliantly. Now, in his favor, courageous performance. He hung in there. He looked somewhat good for a brief amount of time. He's a very tough guy. Lest I throw shade on any fighters, I always mention then they could beat me in a fight in 10 seconds. So all respect to Abus Magomedov, but this was a mismatch. It was ridiculous for this to have been the match. The odds makers were absolutely shockingly off target, making this nearly an even money fight. And I would say well played to anyone that put some or a lot of money on Sean Strickland, because this was nearly free money, in my opinion. Strickland looked great. He's a veteran. He's very talented. He looked like it was just a matter of time to when he took Boost out of there. And this was a mismatch, the likes of which I'd rather not see again in the UFC, and they had better not do it again in a main event, because I think then they will start getting some pushback from the fans, as they should.
Mm-hmm. Oh, can't hear you, Chris.
Chris.
Me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm coming through on mic. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah. All good.
Got me now. Okay, cool. Right, gents. So that literally, on pretty much bang on time, brought us to the end of the show, man. What I'll do before we go, because I know we all need to go, but let's just have a couple of minutes each. The fight on the prelims. What happened to Kevin Lee? We can't go about obviously talking about that. Kevin Lee on his comeback fight. You know, he's coming in against man. All we can say is that was pretty brutal, man. Like when they showed the replay of the choke, you saw his left arm drop. You know, there's no way the referee could have seen that. But he was out for a while, man, and I felt for the guy. I really did. Even if you're going to lose, at least lose, you know, better than that, if that's even possible. You know.
And then they've cut him, and now they've cut him. They've cut him from the UFC. Yes.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that.
It's like they brought him back to be a sacrificial lamb for the most part. Not very nice.
Well, I hope for him he ends up somewhere like PFL or something like that, or Bellator, making good money over there. So
I hope.
Good luck to him, man. Good luck to him. Yeah, Callum, what do you think, man? Savage.
Yeah, I don't like the way he's been treated, to be honest. I mean, for a start, he shouldn't be fighting at welterweight. He's not a welterweight.
Correct.
Throwing him in this fight. As soon as I saw the fight get made, I was just like, it's got written all over it that you're trying to build a star off of Kevin Lee's name. Now, again, you still got to go out there and win the fight, and his opponent did that and did it brilliantly. I thought, credit to Herb Dean. I know he gets quite a lot of stick, but I think his positioning and just navigating around that situation where both arms are trapped, not knowing what was going on, I think he did really well to stop that developing into anything worse. Look, it was a brutal performance, but for him to get cut after that, it feels as though there's just been an issue, because this all stemmed back from the whole Francis stuff, and he was just the fall guy for the whole Francis situation. He's never really, over the past few years, he's not really been treated very well by the UFC. And
no,
I think you're right, Chris. I think he should just cut his ties now. And he's got a big name. On his day, he's a top class fighter. Just go somewhere else, make your money, and get the respect you deserve now, I'd say.
You heard it here first. He's going to fight Platinum Perry at BKFC. There you go. Guarantee it.
I don't think that's a good fight for him at all.
No, it isn't, but it will happen.
But it might. Indeed might.
But yeah, man, gents, it's always... Sorry, Colin.
I was going to say, his opponent, Fakradinov, that's a word you might say if you're angry. Fakradinov. His last name is what you say when you're angry. Fakradinov.
Yeah. Well, you know, my favourite one, Colin's old Meerschaert. You know, when I explained to you what a Schaert was,
yes, I love that. I said, I guess Gerald has Schaert all over the place here in that next fight, in that last fight. He's Schaert all out of over the gamblers. Speaking of which one of us would look best with the name Lipsky on us? Callum, perhaps it might be you. Callum Lipsky. Can you see it?
I mean, you guys have got the alliteration as the big... No, we didn't know. What am I talking about? You haven't got the alliteration. You've got both. Well, you've got the alliteration with your actual name. Colin Lipsky.
What do you think?
Chris Lipsky.
No, man. Lipsky, I don't look Polish enough or something to be Eastern European.
Either.
You know what I mean? Where she's
Me
from,
neither.
Yeah.
Oh, Callum, you may look the least Polish, though. All
yeah, just about in it.
There you go. So,
Do you know what I mean? I've got the Mediterranean Greek look, and then we've got Colin, the typical white man from California.
Yeah, somewhat. Yep. A little darker than the whitest of white.
That's it, man. This is the most diverse podcast you'll see, man. Don't you worry about that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
But anyway, gents, it's obviously, as always, man, it's been a pleasure chatting to both of you. Every Sunday, it's always a little thing we look forward to, don't we? And we hope other people enjoy watching it as well. If you do, please like, share, comment, all that sort of stuff. My name's Chris Allen. You can catch me, just type in Chris Allen MMA on anything apart from Twitter, because I'm old. I don't know how to use that. Actually, Colin's actually a little bit older than me, and he's an expert, so I shouldn't really say that. But
that's okay.
But I don't use that stuff. But yeah, check out my fight show, Bloodline Fight Series, and yeah, man, we're getting there. Check us out on YouTube. Colin, where can people find you, man?
Oh, man. Well, other than right here, MMA Power Hour, we do as Twitter Spaces. However, if you want to see my video podcast, we did nearly 6 years of weekly video podcasts. You can YouTube them. We threw some of them up as an afterthought, so some of them you don't see a lot of viewers. A bit of an itch on my lip there. Sorry. You don't see too many, but then the others you will. But nevertheless, you'll see, a lot of our content there. Also, the Hannibal TV, where you're seeing this show on the Hannibal TV, Canada's biggest combat sports channel, nearly 400,000 subscribers. And so you'll see a bunch of our MMA Power Hour there as well. And I'll do random live videos here and there. I wanted to, excuse me, I'm sorry. Before we can go to Callum, I was going to say I know sometimes we will mention, we'll break down the upcoming Saturday fight. I know we neither of us have time to do that, but perhaps we could maybe say who we think wins really quick. But give Callum, if you want to say where you're found, and then maybe let's finish by maybe doing 10 seconds each of our picks for the winner or the main and the co-main or something.
Yeah, man. I'll read them out. I'll read them out, and then we make a note of them. All right.
Okay. But you want to let Callum? You want to let Callum first say where?
No, we haven't got time for that, Callum. Sorry, mate.
No, go ahead, Callum. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you can find me at Callum Sanderson on all platforms. You can find me here with Chris and Colin, and also the Sanderson Show as well. Live watch alongs for main event. Sorry for pay-per-views and main cards. So yeah.
Excellent.
The real Triple C, man. The Colin, Callum, and Chris show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Actually, Colin's got another C. Colin must be the real champ. He's the quadruple C.
That's it, man. All the C's, man. The third letter of the alphabet, the best.
That's right. We're both the first letter. We're getting there, man. Don't worry. Right. So next weekend we've got UFC 290. Let's quickly run through these. I'm just going to go through some fights that I've picked out. The main card, to be fair. But I've got I've got 6 fights here. So without obviously just literally give me your prediction, guys. Yeah. So we've got Dan Hooker, love that guy, versus Jalen Turner. Colin, what are you saying? Can someone make a note of these as well, so we can then go over it next week and we'll see how right we were. And if we are correct, then people can follow us and follow our bets. You know what I mean?
I like that, exactly. Man, Jalen is on a great streak. I thought Jalen beat Matus Gamrot in his last fight, and the decision was stolen from him. Dan Hooker needs this fight very badly. But sometimes need doesn't get you the success. He is dangerous, though. I probably would be cautious betting on Jalen Turner, but Jalen should win this fight. And if he does, then he's certainly in the thick of things. I will pick Jalen Turner, but I wouldn't bet a good deal of money on it.
Jalen Turner, yeah? All right. Callum, what you say? Who's making a note of this, by the way? Has everyone got a pen to hand? All right, cool. So we're going to have 3 columns. A picture of you, picture of Callum, picture of Colin, a picture of me. And we have little ticks and crosses next to our name. Well, then the winner gets prize, I guess.
Let's
not
do
prize.
That. Let's do that.
Okay, so Callum, who are you saying quickly? Dan Hooker or Jalen Turner?
I'm going Jalen.
My phone just said 5% battery as well, guys, so I'm going to go a lot quicker. Okay, so we've got Whittaker versus. I'm going to say.
Who did you pick, Chris? Who did you have? You have Jalen as well.
I'll tell you what. One second. Wait.
Yeah, I think Jalen wins this.
Unfortunately, my microphone plugs into my headphone slot, so I'll have to talk through the phone. Does that sound right?
No problem. It's good.
Yeah. It might die. Because it said 1%.
If it does, it does. If he dies, he dies.
Dies.
There you go, mate.
Yeah.
Brilliant, mate. That's even better. No. Who did you pick on that fight, Jalen or Hooker? Chris? He can't
This
hear.
phone's gone.
There we go.
Yeah. I went Jalen.
Yeah,
Think
me too. We got two Jalen's, and Chris is. Oh, there we go, mate. Well, I guess it's you and I. Do
it is
you have a
indeed. It is
list of
indeed.
who can? So
Yep.
let's do Bo Nickel real quick. I think Bo Nickel
Yeah.
wins. How about you?
I think Bo Nickel wins as well. Whitaker versus Duplessis. I think Whitaker wins.
Yeah, man, boy, I hope that's a good fight. I think it will be a good fight. A lot of hate on Duplessis. It seems like there's only two opinions on Duplessis. Either you think he's trash, or you think he's a great fighter. It almost seems like
Yeah.
there's no nuance. There's no shade of gray. I think
Yeah.
he's a great fighter. I don't think he's trash, but I think
No,
Whitaker
it's not
is
true.
a bit too good. I have a friend who's a South African Irishman living in Australia. Funny enough. And I
Wow.
asked him, I said, who do you pick in that fight? And he said, I'm living in Australia, but only for several years. And he said, born and raised South Africa, Irish. And he said, so I'm with Duplessis, which makes sense, but would not make him that popular in Australia for sure. I think it's going to be a banger without mash. Hold the mash. And I think that Whitaker wins, but I think it's going to be a battle because I think Duplessis has skills.
Yeah, agree. I actually think Whitaker wins that quite handily.
Could be.
I think he wins it by unanimous decision. I don't think he stops Duplessis, but I think he wins it by unanimous decision.
Could be. Wouldn't shock me.
Brandon Moreno versus Pantoja 3.
You want to go first on that, or shall I?
Pantoja might have his number. I know Brandon's improved a lot. The only thing with Pantoja hasn't fought the level of opposition that Brandon Moreno's fought, and Moreno's looked phenomenal. I'm going to go... I think this is a bit of a 50-50 fight. I'm going to go Brandon Moreno, though. I think he gets revenge.
Yeah, I like Brandon Moreno a lot. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
I did have a great chat with him, too, after he lost to the Figueiredo in that second fight, in the third fight, rather. And a lot of people gave me a lot of credit for being encouraging, and because I let Brandon know you're young, you're still on the top of your game, and the future is yours, to take. And he really appreciated that. And then he won in that fourth fight against Figueiredo, as I thought he would. Yeah, Brandon Moreno. I think Brandon's a superstar. And I think Pantoja is going to get his comeuppance, as you mates might say.
And then the main event, Volkanovski Alexander the Great versus Yair Rodriguez.
Wow.
What fight.
Man, oh man, that's such a great fight. I will say this. If Volkanovski promised not to shoot for any takedowns, then it would be one of the best bangers you've seen in years. And I think Yair would win because of a greater variety of strikes than Volkanovski has. Even though Volkanovski would be in it because he's so strong, he's so quick, he's so accurate, so powerful, yet intelligent. But with the fact that Volkanovski will not agree not to wrestle and is a very good wrestler. I think he wins it. It's interesting because you look at two fights. You look at the fight with Frankie Edgar against a much younger, less experienced Yair, when Yair had never faced a wrestler nearly that good, and he just got ragdolled. He got taken down, controlled, smashed, rinse and repeat. Fast forward about 3 years later, and he did fight an older Josh Emmett who had numerous knee surgeries and was, not far from 40 years old. And I love Josh. But at that point, he knew his wrestling. He understood it. He was not going to let someone do what Frankie Edgar did. And he had just become, his takedown defense was brilliant. And he pretty much lit Josh Emmett up. Now, in Josh's defense, it was a bit of an older, banged up Josh Emmett. Yeah. Now, though, you look at the fact that you have all that experience and all that confidence in the takedown defense with Yair, but you have the best of all three of those gentlemen in Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski was better than the Frankie Edgar who fought Yair, because that Frankie Edgar was, I think, 35 years old, 36. and Volk I think is 33, which is a bit of a difference in this. Volk also has better striking than Edgar ever had. So I think Volk wins this fight, but I think he's going to need to have the threat of the takedown. He's going to need to show he can take him down, and if not, if it's on the feet the whole time, Yair can win. The Mexican fighters have a lot of momentum going. This is going to be quite exciting. The only thing that would not be exciting is if Volk just kept taking him down and essentially did to him what Edgar had done to Yair years ago. But I don't think that'll happen. I don't think Volkanovski cares to do that, and I don't think Yair will let that happen. So I think it's going to be a banger, but I think because of how balanced a fighter Volkanovski is, I think he'll beat Yair. Not only that, but off of that performance against Islam, which I still feel Volkanovski won, I think certainly he'll beat Yair, but it's not going to be easy. What do you think? Curious to see your
I
thoughts,
agree.
Cal.
I think it's going to be a really tough fight for both men. And I think it's going to bring the best out of both. I think Volk is at his best when he fears the wrong word, when he knows the person opposite him carries a real genuine threat. Yeah, he's got knockout power, but he's also got really good submissions as well. But I just think for all the flash, for all the brilliance Yair has, the equalizer is Volk's IQ, and he just knows how to target fighters' weaknesses. He probably already knows what Yair's weaknesses are, and he's already zoned in on those probably. And Yair probably doesn't even know that he's zoned in on them already. By that time, the fight's too late. Volk is phenomenal, and he made me a believer in that third Max fight, but he made me even more of a believer in the Makachev fight. I don't think anyone at 45 beats Volk. And I think Yair is just unfortunate to be in an era where he's got Max and Volk in his division. I think you take those two out, I think he's a champion. I think he reigns for a good amount of time as well, but they're around.
Without a doubt. And I think if he met Max 6 months or a year from now, I think he could possibly beat Max. Best because Max is going to be aging himself a bit out of his best. But then again, that would be an amazing rematch. But yeah, Volk is amazing. Was there one other somewhat significant fight on the main card? Do you see it in front of you?
No, that's the main card. On the prelims, though, I mean, prelims are stacked. You've got Sean Brady Della Maddalena has been cancelled.
Which is right. Show. Now they have Jack Della Maddalena against someone no one's heard of in the Contender Series.
Harrell.
Yeah. That guy looks like a rugged, tough guy. If you look at pictures of him, he looks like
Jack's a different level, though, isn't he?
I think so, too, yeah.
But another one here, Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price in his retirement fight.
Yes. Well, first of all, I was going to say, I think Jack turns Josiah, what's his name, Harrell?
Yeah.
I think he turns him into a Vegemite sandwich and eats it.
Yeah.
That's about my thought of what happens there, yes, with all respect to Harrell.
Jack is brilliant.
He really is. And then, I think Nico Price finishes the career of Robbie Lawler. And, But, yeah, should be a brilliant card. And hopefully I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a chance to talk to Jason Nickel, Bo Nickel's dad, hopefully on Tuesday evening. So if you wanted to jump in, I know that's actually, that's starting quite late. I forget. We start at 2 a.m. UK time. So I hate.
I try and have a nap and then wake up for it.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be brilliant. And, I'm not sure what time we can get Jason to come in. And once in a while, he can't make it because I don't want to push him on his schedule, but he likes to jump in. And so I think he will. And sometime between then, and we'll get a chance to chat. But, yeah. So, do you want to take us out or shall I?
Yes, indeed. That's another show in the books, people. If you haven't already, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments on who you think will be the winners and losers of UFC 290. My name's Callum. We had Chris Allen, who unfortunately lost power in the battery of his phone. And we've got the man from LA himself, Colin Crandall. We are MMA from London to LA. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till we see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Peace.